All right, welcome. Are you a photographer who's wondering how to use Pinterest in your marketing? My name is Barb Davids. I'm with Compass Digital Strategies, and I help photographers who are struggling to grow their business to the next phase so that they have more money and freedom. I am with wedding consultant Becca Mootney, who is going to share her tips and strategies on the Pinterest do's and don'ts that you can use in your marketing campaigns so that you can get more customers, increase your online visibility, and grow your business. So thanks for joining me today, Becca. I'm looking forward to this one.
I am so excited to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me. As someone who works in the wedding industry, I'm super excited to be talking all things Pinterest to photographers because
Yeah,
they should definitely be on there.
yeah, it's great. All right, so what I guess we could just jump right in. Oh no, let me get the background from your background, how you got into this, and let people know how you got into the Pinterest marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for anyone who doesn't know who I am, my name's Becca Pountney. You can hear from my voice that I'm based here in the UK, in England, and I work with wedding business owners, helping them to market their businesses better. And in the wedding industry, Pinterest is huge. So, over the last kind of 5, 6 years, I've been teaching business owners from within the wedding industry and outside of the wedding industry how to use Pinterest to help people demystify the platform and understand how they can use it to grow their businesses. So my background's in television and radio marketing, but I've been in the wedding industry since 2013 and doing what I do now since 2016. So it's good to be here.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's great. All right, so I guess I will just go ahead and let you get started with some of the do's and don'ts and give us some great knowledge.
Fabulous. Okay, we are going to dive in then straight into Pinterest. Now, before we get going with the do's and don'ts, I want to give you a little bit of a background all about Pinterest and why I think that you should be on it. If you are here live or are here watching on catch up, do say hello in the comments. Let me know that you're there. I'm always happy to see you. So, why should we be on Pinterest as photographers in the first place? Well, the first thing is it's not a small platform. There are over 478 million monthly users on Pinterest. So when people think that there's not many people on there, they are wrong. There is a whole lot of people on there. Now, we know that 79% of the users on there are female, so it is still a female dominated platform, but there are more men joining the platform all of the time. But one of the interesting stats, now Pinterest do a lot of their own research, which I love. And for me being in the wedding industry, they've even done some of their own wedding industry based research as well.
Hmm.
So we know from Pinterest themselves that 40 million users are using it to plan their weddings every single year. So if you are in wedding photography, then you know that your couples are definitely on there. And there's even 378 million wedding related searches. So we know that people are on Pinterest. They are there to plan their weddings. They are there to shop as well. So even if they're not planning weddings, we know that there's a customer base on there. So my question to you is, if you're not on there as a business, why not?
Mhm.
Now, people find it really confusing. So I'm going to give you a really brief overview about how Pinterest works, and then we'll dive into those do's and don'ts. So if you imagine this lovely wall behind me, and I go out to the shop this afternoon and I go and buy some old fashioned pin boards and I pin them up on my office wall. Now, I'm going to go out, I'm going to put them up, and then on each of them, I'm going to give them a title. So, for example, I might be redesigning my living room. So, on one of them, I may give it a title of redesigning my living room and pop it on the board. Maybe I'm planning my wedding. So, I'm going to go wedding planning or dream wedding plans and pin it on the other board. Then I'm going to go to the shop over the road. I'm going to buy some magazines and I'm going to search through those magazines and look for ideas for my living room or ideas for my wedding. Find anything I love, cut it out, and go and pin it on that board. Now, every time I come into my office, I've got this gorgeous visual representation to help me plan my wedding or help me redecorate my lounge. That is essentially how Pinterest works, but in a virtual sense. People are virtually creating those pin boards that I just described on the wall behind me and searching Pinterest, cutting out those pictures and popping them on their pin boards. That is how a user uses Pinterest. As a business owner, your kind of whole job is to get other people finding your photographs and pinning them to their dream boards. Because if they love your gorgeous landscape photography and they want to buy it to put up in their lounge, you want to be pinned to their dream lounge decor board. If you take gorgeous wedding photos of couples or groups, you want people to be pinning it to their dream wedding board. Because if they're pinning it, they're much more likely to then come through to your website and book you. And as a business, we need customers. So that is how Pinterest works as both a consumer and a business owner. So if you're watching this as a business owner, your goal is to get people interacting with your photographs and getting them pinned to your or their dream boards. Does that make sense, Mark?
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect.
I didn't even realize there were so many people. I hadn't heard that number for a while. So it's amazing to me how big that platform has gotten.
Yeah, and it exploded during COVID. So the Pinterest numbers went up like 100 million, like just crazy amounts during the COVID pandemic as well. But people have stuck around. So people are still there on the platform and it's growing all of the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we know how the platform works. We know that we need to be on it as business owners. So let's go into then the 3 things we should be doing and the 3 things we should not be doing when it comes to the Pinterest platform. And I'm going to share those with you now. So the number one thing, the first thing any of you need to do if you're going to start using Pinterest for your business, number 1 is to have a business Pinterest account. Have a business Pinterest account. When it comes to Pinterest, there are 2 kinds of accounts that you can set up on the platform, a personal account or a business account. So if you've already previously set up an account, even if it was years ago, before you do anything else, you need to log into your account and find out what kind of account you have. So when you log in, ideally on a laptop or desktop, because you'll see it better, go onto your account and have a look and see if you see the following things. Do you see the words Business Hub, Analytics, Ads? If you see any of those kind of words, you're good to go. Tick, you've got a business account, you can move on. However, if you go onto your account and you don't see those things, you don't see Business Hub or Analytics or Ads, chances are you've actually got a personal account, even if you've called it your business name. Okay, this is a trap people fall into. They think they have a business account because it's in their business name. It's called Compass Digital Strategies, but it's actually a personal account. So if that is you, before you do anything else, you need to convert that account into a business account. Now you have 2 options. Either you just leave that as a personal account and you set up a brand new account for your business, change the existing one, change the name of it to just your name, and go ahead, Google Pinterest for Business and set up a business account under your business. Or if you want to kind of amalgamate it and keep it as one, in the settings, there is an option you can trade it out and just switch it straight over to a business account. Now, why is it so important you have a business account? Well, if you don't have a business account, you're not going to get access to those features I mentioned. And if you don't have analytics on your Pinterest, how on earth do you know if it's working for you as a marketing strategy? We need to know the numbers of people that are seeing your photos. We need to know if people are clicking on your photos, saving them, like I talked about earlier, coming through to your website. All of that can be done inside of a business account. So that is number 1 thing you need to do first and foremost, is make sure you do have a business account. If you've ticked that off, we can move on to number 2. So number 2 is the most important thing I'm going to teach in this session. If you hear nothing else about Pinterest, you need to understand this. Number 2, Pinterest is a search engine. Pinterest is a search engine. Now, Pinterest, I think, gets quite a bad reputation because we all think it's a social media site. People say it to me all the time. I'm on all the social media sites. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Pinterest. However, that really does us a disservice because Pinterest is not really a social media site. Let's think about it for a moment. Do we go to Pinterest to be social? Do we go there to make friends or hang out with our friends? Do we go there to be part of community groups? Do we go there to comment or engage in other people's stuff? No, we don't. What do we go to Pinterest for? We go there to search for things and to look for ideas, look for products, look for things that we want to buy. So instead of thinking about it like a search engine, instead you need to start thinking about Pinterest in the same way you think about Google image search, because they're much more similar to each other than Facebook and Pinterest. Pinterest and Google image search are more like each other. So if you go to Pinterest, you type in the search bar at the top the thing you're looking for: wedding photography ideas, branding photography inspiration. And when you search those things, it gives you a whole list of pictures, a whole list of results that people can then go ahead and save or click on. If you change your mindset and realize it's a search engine, all of a sudden you will have a much better understanding about how Pinterest works, because we try and put it in this social media category and it doesn't make sense for us. So when we realize Pinterest is a search engine, the next thing we realize is that it's full of keywords. It is full of keywords. So if you want to be found for your business on Pinterest, you need to be using keywords everywhere. Because just like you want your website to be found in Google, you want your images and your graphics to be found in Pinterest. And the way people are going to find them is with keywords. So I'm going to give you a very whistle-stop tour through all of the places on Pinterest where keywords are going to matter. So here we go. Number one, the name of your profile. The name of your profile can be your business name and it can have keywords after it. Wedding photographer, Las Vegas, whatever you want to have, that is part of your profile name. That is keyword searchable. Secondly, the bio, the description you put on your account is keyword searchable. So make sure you're using those same kind of keywords as you are in your title, in your bio, and add additional ones as well. The next place that's keyword searchable is the name of your boards. Whenever you create something on Pinterest, it has to be put on a pin board. So when you name your boards, they are keyword searchable. Also, the description of your board. So number 4, however you describe your board is also keyword searchable and people can find it. Place number 5 is the pin description. So whenever you add a picture, it's called a pin, and how you describe that is keyword searchable. And so is the title you give that image. So if you add an image of this drinks bottle, the name you give the image and the description you give the image is keyword searchable. There's 2 further places, if you haven't got the gist of this yet, that are also keyword searchable on Pinterest. And these are super clever. So if you create a graphic in something like Canva and you have your picture and you write words over the top of your picture and you pin it to Pinterest, Pinterest can read the words on that graphic and they count as keywords. It is keyword searchable. And the final place, when you click on a picture on Pinterest and it takes you to someone's website or your website, Pinterest can scan that website page and see keywords. So, for example, if you create a graphic called 5 ways to pose for photographs and you write that on the graphic, Pinterest can read that. And if it then clicks to an article on your website with the same name, Pinterest can read that as well. And all of those things come together to help people find your things in the search. Now, the reason that last piece of technology was invented by Pinterest was to stop scammers. What was happening was people were creating these gorgeous images, and then someone would click on the image because they wanted to find out more about it. And it would take them to a gambling website or some rubbish junky website. And that was annoying for Pinterest users, and Pinterest wanted to stop it. So instead, it now scans that page to make sure it's relevant to what you're saying is going to be on there. So if you say it's going to be posing tips for photos, and then it will take people to a website, posing tips for photos, you're more likely to be found. So when we understand how important keywords are on Pinterest, it helps us realize the power of the platform. Because if we're using keywords and the right keywords for our businesses, then people will find it. And obviously, the more those keywords stack up on top of each other. So, for example, let's stick with the same idea. We've written a blog post about posing ideas. We've created a graphic with those words on it. We've given the description, posing ideas. The pin title is posing ideas on a board, all about posing ideas, with a description all about posing ideas on our profile. We're much more likely to be found for that search term. Does that all make sense? I know that's a lot to take in one go, but Pinterest is a search engine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think the most interesting piece that I took away from that was the landing page piece. I didn't realize that it went that far. And so um, I think one thing too is like the keywords, you don't want to use them. This is probably the same as SEO or organic search where you don't want to like stuff them in there though, right? Like you can just put it like one time is fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
One time, yeah, just don't stuff your keywords. It needs to make sense. I'll talk a little bit more about how to choose the right keywords in a
Okay.
second as well.
Okay.
So let's move on to the third thing that we should be doing when it comes to Pinterest. And this one is very controversial, especially for photographers. So I
Mm.
know some of you are going to get your backs up immediately. Listen, hear me out before you make a comment. Okay, so with Pinterest, we need to remember to pin other people's pins, pin other people's work. Now, when it comes to Pinterest, I see people making the following two mistakes. Okay, so there's two mistakes we make when it comes to Pinterest. Either number one, we set up a business account and then we get really overexcited by all the amazing pins all over Pinterest that we share them all onto our account and we forget to talk about ourselves. And so we've got this amazing Pinterest board that we've created of all this beautiful stuff, but it's actually not relevant to what we're doing and it's nothing to do with us. On the other extreme, other people don't do that, but they're there to promote their business, right? So they think, right, I'm here as a photographer to promote my business. Therefore, everything I put onto this Pinterest is going to be my photographs, and that is all I'm going to share because I'm the photographer and I want everyone to see that.
Mhm.
Now, Pinterest doesn't like it very much when we do that. Why? Because it sees us as a selfish, spammy user. Okay, if we only go to Pinterest to talk about ourselves, it doesn't see us as a good member of the Pinterest community. It thinks that we're just there to promote our businesses, and it doesn't let us do as well in the algorithm. On the other hand, if instead of doing that, we share most of our own work and then a little bit of other people's work as well, Pinterest likes it better. Now, I understand as a photographer, it's difficult to want to share other people's work because ultimately we're there as a photographer to promote our own photographs, and it's easier for people who aren't photographers to be able to do this. However, there are ways you can do it. You can share other people's pins to your boards that are not photos. There are loads of graphics, there are loads of blog posts out there. There are loads of other things, lighting, things that complement what you do, which are not the same as what you do, and you can share those to your boards. So I am not suggesting you share competitors' work to your boards. That would be ridiculous. We are there for our business. But just to help us in the algorithm, if we share occasionally locations or props or anything that fits with what we do but isn't in competition with us, it will help you in the algorithm. Now, when it comes to amounts of doing that, I would say 80% of what you put on Pinterest should be your own. We're there as a business, we're trying to promote ourselves. Only kind of 10-20% needs to be just sharing a little bit of other people's work and other people's pins just to tell Pinterest we are a good member of the Pinterest community. We're not just here for ourselves. So let's recap then those three things. Let's recap all the do's and then we can go on to the don'ts. So, do have a business account. If you don't have a business account yet, make sure you get that ticked off and sorted out. If you struggle with that for any reason, please reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook and I'll talk you through it. Secondly, it is a search engine. Keywords, keywords, keywords. You cannot do Pinterest without using keywords or it won't work. And thirdly, even though it feels uncomfortable, we need to share other people's work occasionally to ensure we do better in the algorithm. Shall we move on to the don'ts?
That sounds good. It's fantastic stuff.
Fabulous. Okay, let's move on to the things we shouldn't be doing. Quick hello to Dave. I can see here as well. Dave is a wedding photographer. So it's fabulous to see him on here this evening. Okay, let's go on to the don'ts then. When it comes to Pinterest, there is one big don't, and unfortunately, I see people doing it all the time. And that is do not just upload your images. Do not just upload your images. Let me explain that for a moment. So, say today I go and I take a photograph of this lovely blue pen and I add it to my Pinterest. Now, if I add that as a picture, to start with, it's going to sit on my profile, a bit like on Instagram or Facebook. So if you come across that picture of the pen, you see it on my profile, you'll think, that's nice, Becca's selling a blue pen. However, as soon as someone starts to share that image across onto their profile, it no longer now has any relevance back to me. It is now just a picture of a pen floating around Pinterest. And so Dave could find it and he could love the pen. And when he clicks on that picture, what will happen is the picture will just get bigger and he'll just get a bigger picture of a pen, which is no use to anybody. And if you are a Pinterest user, you will find this incredibly frustrating because it happens all the time.
Mm.
However, what we should be doing, if I upload the picture of this pen and at the same time, I ensure I add a URL, a website link to the picture of Becca's pen shop, every time now this gets shared around Pinterest, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, my website is going to follow it around. And when people click on it now, it will take them to Becca's pen shop. We don't want to make sure, especially as photographers, you don't want your pictures out there without linking back to you and your website. Otherwise, there's no use whatsoever. That's frustrating for people that might want to find out who took the photos or work with you, but it's also bad for you because your photos are floating around the internet and they don't belong to you. And because people are in an Instagram, Facebook mindset, again, they think, well, it's on my profile. People must know it belongs to me. However, as soon as someone shares it, it no longer sits on your profile. The other thing to note with Pinterest is most people will never come to your profile. They will just find your blue pen picture or whatever picture it is in the search bar. They'll find the picture and then they'll click through to your website. So that's the first thing. Don't just upload images. But also on that point as well, when we talk about adding a link, a website link, not only should we add a link, it should also be a relevant link to whatever is in that picture. So sticking with my pen shop, if I upload this picture and you love this blue pen and you think, I want to buy that, and you click on it and it takes you to Becca's pen shop homepage with a million different pens to choose from, you're not going to sit there and search through to find the blue pen again. You're just going to give up because that's too much work for a customer. However, if you click on this picture and it takes you straight to a page on my website where you can click and buy this blue pen, you're much more likely to turn into a customer. It's the same for all of you as well with your photos. If you're sharing images about a blog post, well, then it needs to click and take people straight to that blog post. If you're talking about weddings, it needs to take them straight to a page on your website about weddings, branding, family shoots, whatever it is you're trying to promote, take them to that section of your website. Don't be lazy and just put your homepage on everything. You need to make it more relevant in order to convert people into customers. So, whenever you put anything on Pinterest, whether you upload it or you save it a different way, make sure it's always got a URL and always a relevant one. Okay, number 2 on the don'ts. Do not be generic. When it comes to Pinterest, we do not want to be generic. You may have got back in point 1 that I had a high emphasis on the word keywords because on Pinterest that matters. But people struggle with this and people are far too generic on Pinterest. Now, the amount of photographers and other wedding businesses that I go onto their Pinterest, I see their gorgeous photos and they've saved them to a board called My Portfolio, My Work, Our Work, or the name of their business. Now, if you are looking for a wedding photographer, a branding photographer, a family photographer on Pinterest, what is the chance that you're going to go to Pinterest and search the words My Portfolio in order to find it? 0. Okay, so if you have got boards on your Pinterest with this kind of name, you're just wasting your time because no one is going to search for it. Instead, when it comes to Pinterest, you cannot be too niche. In fact, the nicher you are with your keywords, the better. If you specialize in branding photography on the Las Vegas Strip, then make sure that you're using those words in all of your keywords. Find me Las Vegas based branding photographer specializing in photos on the Las Vegas Strip, because if someone is looking for that, that is what they're going to be searching for. So when it comes to naming your images, describing them, naming your boards, there's a few things that I like to say. And one of them is say what you see. It is as simple as that. If you've got this gorgeous branding photo of someone on a mountaintop, describe it in that way. Corporate branding photo on a mountaintop in Arizona or wherever you are, and just say what you see in the picture. The other thing is you need to think like your customer when you're coming up with these keywords. Think about what your customers would be searching for to find you. And that might be different to what you initially think about. Okay, so say you take photos of landscapes like we were talking about earlier, and I might use them in my lounge. Now, you might describe it in a really artistic way, but me as just a general person looking to buy a piece of artwork, I might not know the same words that you do. So I might be just looking for pretty black and white picture for my front room, gift for my mum for Mother's Day, landscape photo of the Grand Canyon for my living room. Okay, so you need to talk like a normal person when it comes to describing things. Now, the great thing about Pinterest is you can use the same images and you can add them to lots of different boards with lots of different descriptions. So that's why it's okay to be niche and not too generic, because you can call it you can have a Mother's Day gift landscape photo section, but you can also have a Father's Day gift landscape photo and a Las Vegas themed gift landscape photo, and you can have them all across Pinterest. So when it comes to Pinterest, do not be generic. Do not have my portfolio, my work, our stuff. Make sure that instead you are being really specific. The other thing when it comes to the keywords, and this is a mistake I see people making all of the time, is that instead of having, you think, right, people come to my profile and I'm going to put all of my photos on this board. And then over here, I'm going to have a board about, I don't know, other kinds of artwork, because my ideal customer will like all of those things. Now, that's a good thing to think, but remember, most people find you in the search. So if you are doing that kind of strategy, you're actually wasting your time and all you're doing is marketing other people's work. Every single board that you create on Pinterest should have your own photos on it. If they don't, then it's a waste of time and it needs to be either a private board or not exist. Because if people are just coming across your boards, it might be a really popular board. If your work isn't dominant on there, you're potentially losing customers. Okay. Third and final don't, as we bring this in to land, is do not worry about follower numbers. I'm going to free you all from worrying about follower numbers. Now, I know we talk all of the time about vanity statistics and not worrying about how many Instagram and Facebook followers we have. When it comes to Pinterest, we really, really, really don't need to worry about it. Why? Because they're pointless, in my opinion. They are a pointless statistic. Remember what I said. Most people will find you in the search. That means you could have one follower on Pinterest and your pictures could be seen by 150,000 people every month. And it doesn't matter that you've only got one follower. Why? Because they're finding you from the keywords. They're finding you from the search. They see your work even if they're not following you. Over time, as your Pinterest grows, your followers will slowly go up, but it's not a number you need to pay any attention to at all. Instead, there are two numbers you should be paying attention to. The first one is your monthly unique viewers. This shows up on your profile on Pinterest and it shows up to everyone as of this video recording. So if I go onto your profile and you're a business, I can see how many monthly unique views you have. That is how many people are coming across your photos, your images, your pins every single month. And you want to see that number going in a generally upward trajectory. The second number, which is even more important, we need to start paying attention to is click-throughs. How many people are leaving Pinterest and landing on your website? Ultimately, Pinterest is a marketing tool. We're not selling on Pinterest. We're getting people over to our website for them to buy from us. We need to look how many people are coming. Now, the best place to do this, you can do it in Pinterest, but ideally, I would use Google Analytics. If you've got Google Analytics installed, go to the acquisition section. I think it's still called that in the new Google Analytics. I haven't explored that deeply yet. It shows you where people are coming to your website from. Okay, so it's telling you this many people came from Instagram, Google, this many people are coming from Pinterest. Now, that number is going to take you a while to build up. Don't expect to see huge numbers overnight. But if you do Pinterest consistently over a couple of months, you should start to see that number slowly going up. So they're the numbers to pay attention to, your monthly unique viewers and your clicks just ignore the follower numbers. It doesn't matter. Let's recap the don'ts. And then I've got a couple of final things and then any questions that you might have as well. So the don'ts. Number 1, don't just upload. Remember, every picture, it needs a link and it needs a relevant link. Otherwise, it's just a picture. Number 2, don't be generic. We need to be niche. Keywords, 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 keywords. Be as specific as you can. Say what you see and think like your customers. And thirdly, don't worry about follower numbers. Just think about the other statistics that I shared with you. Okay, some final fun facts for you before we finish. Pinterest is an evergreen platform. That's one of the reasons I love it. If you are a lazy marketer like I am and you don't like coming up with new content all of the time, Pinterest is great. So not like Facebook and Instagram. If you post on Facebook or Instagram, you've got like 24 hours for someone to see your post before it's way up the timeline. Okay. However, if you make a pin on Pinterest today and it's got good keywords, people will still find it in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, because they're finding it in the search all of the time. Some of my best performing pins on Pinterest I created 4 or 5 years ago, but every single month people find them. Every single month they come to my website and read my articles based on them. So it's an evergreen platform. That means the work you put in now will reap rewards over time. Even if you do some now and then forget about it a little bit, it's still going to be reaping you the rewards. Obviously, that's not the best strategy, but it's better than doing nothing. If you've already got blogs on your website, create graphics and get them onto Pinterest, because more people will find your articles and be able to read them. Which brings me on to the second tip, which is blogs and products create something on Pinterest called rich pins. We don't have time to go into it in detail, but they're like super pins on Pinterest. So if any of you write blogs on your website, or if any of you sell any of your photography on something like Etsy or in an e-shop on your website, you 100% should be on Pinterest as part of your marketing strategy, because it works really well for you. And the third thing, as I always say, is we've done a whistle stop tour through Pinterest, but it is the first aid, and I haven't made you a doctor. So if you think after this session you want to do more, then get more help. Like, this is the basics. It's enough for you to go away and start working on the platform. But we could be here for another 4 hours talking about all of the other amazing things that Pinterest can do. So do go away and get more help in whatever form that takes. There we go. That is your whistle stop tour through Pinterest. Do you have a better understanding of it now?
Yes, I can't even tell you. That is a ton of information to digest. Really good though. I loved it. I think there's I think showing just the, maybe not urgency, but just how important it is to be on there for photographers is a really huge thing.
Yeah.
So.
And I think people don't realize its power because they don't understand how to use it. And actually, when you realize it is just as simple as describing pictures and helping them be found, like Google Images, then all of a sudden something clicks and people think, oh, well, I've got a ton of pictures on my website. I've got a ton of blog posts on my website. I could just pop them onto Pinterest and I could generate more traffic. And that's what all of us want, right? We want more eyes on our businesses, more eyes on our photos, more eyes to buy from us. Yeah. One thing we haven't covered, I don't know if you've got a question around it, is what to do about if people are location specific. Do you want me to dive into that
Yeah,
briefly?
I think that would be great for photographers. There's a lot of them that just stay in their like general area. So yeah, if you would, that'd be great.
Awesome. Okay. So this comes up a lot in my questions because, especially in the wedding industry, some people don't want to travel the world. They only want to be in their location. So if that is you, first of all, make sure you've got your location heavily in your keywords, in your profile name and your bio. Say, based in Alabama, working in the South, or whatever you are happy to say, state it clearly on your profile and use those keywords. The next thing to do is to create location-based Pinterest boards. So if you want people to find you who are local to you, you need to give them search terms which are local to you. So things that work really well: finding venues in your local area, like wedding venues or event and party venues, and creating boards around those venues. Because if someone's planning a wedding or an event in that venue and it's near to you, chances are they're searching Pinterest for inspiration. And if your photos keep popping up, and even better, if you've got a blog or a page on your website about that venue and about you working at that venue, and you've got example photos, that's a really good way to find local traffic and to get local people interested. It also aligns you with venues, even when venues don't promote you. Okay, because people just think, oh, she's always talking about this venue, she must be the best photographer in the area for that venue. Actually, we're just capitalizing on the fact that a lot of venues don't know how to use Pinterest and don't do it well. So therefore, if you're using good keywords for your area, that works really well. You can also create boards based on your state, on your county, on your town, branding photography locations in Texas, in Dallas. Like, make it as specific as you want. And then you will find people who are searching for that who are more likely to be in your area. So although people will see it from all over the world, you're helping people to find it who are local to you.
That is great. That's just so great. One question I have about like the local piece of it, do you feel like the metadata in images is important? I think people go back and forth on the general organic search for images, but do you feel that's important for the Pinterest images?
Well, if you have metadata on the images that you've already added to your website, it's going to save you a ton of time when it comes to Pinterest, because there is something that, again, we haven't gone into it, but there is something that you can Google called the Pinterest browser button. It works on Google Chrome. It's free. You can add it to your browser. If you browse and go to your own website and hit that button, it will pull out the images on that page of your site and allow you to pin them to Pinterest. And it will often pull through the metadata you've already attached to those images. So if you've already given your images great keyword searchable names, then you are one step ahead of the game, and that's going to really help you when you pull that information through to Pinterest, because the pin description and the pin title is basically the metadata. If you've called your images image 1793567 or whatever it is, it's going to take you a little bit longer to add those keywords in. That's the same if you use a scheduler like Tailwind, same kind of thing. So yeah, like, I think you should add good metadata to your images on your website. It's going to help you in the search engine, and it's going to help you on Pinterest as well.
Okay, great, wonderful. Well, yeah, we are at the mark, and I didn't have any more questions come in, so I think we're good there, and I got all of my questions answered. That was a great information. Would you, for everybody who is watching, would you let them know maybe where they can find you if they have any questions about Pinterest marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you can put my name back on the screen because it's hard to spell, but if you want to find me, the best places are either Facebook or Instagram at Becca Pountney, spelled as it is on the screen right there. Or if you want to find out more about Pinterest and training, you can go to pinterestwithbecca.com, and you can find out more there. But I am very approachable. It's me in the DMs. If you come to my Instagram and you drop me a message with a question about Pinterest or a technical thing that you don't understand, it'll be me answering it. So feel free to drop a voice note or a message. I'd love to help you further.
Awesome. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for that. And thanks again for those of you who are watching. Go connect with Becca, and I hope you learned something amazing today for your Pinterest marketing. Cheers.